go. And let's just get right into it.
Or two, according to the books. Either way, Gandalf was in a really terrible mood when he returned and told Frodo that he has to take the ring to the elven city of Rivendell. So now Frodo's off on his own adventure. I sure hope he doesn't get stabbed along the way. Frodo left the Shire with the Nazgul hot on his trail. These are a creepy bunch of former kings who seemingly got really into Pantera. Frodo managed to team up with his hobbit buddies Samwise, Merry, and Pippin along the way. After a few close calls, they made it to the seedy inn, the Prancing Pony. They then pick up Strider, a ranger who is actually the lost heir of Gondor, named Aragorn, the last chieftain of the Dunedain of the North. But, you know, that's a whole other thing. You see, the hobbits were supposed to meet Gandalf at the inn, but unfortunately he got kinda held up. Gandalf went to see Saruman, one of the Ishtar and a powerful wizard. By the way, I do not have enough time to explain what an Ishtar is, but they're basically wizard angels, which is fun. Their ranks include the likes of Saruman, Gandalf, and Radagast. I wonder which one will turn out to be evil. Saruman betrayed Gandalf and stuck his ass up on the roof. Fortunately, a moth and a giant eagle came along and rescued him, so it all worked out. Back on the trail to Rivendell, the hobbits and the mysterious ranger were attacked by the Nazgul, and Frodo ended up stabbed. Oh no! They then ran into the elf maiden Arwen, who summoned some water horses to flush the Nazgul away. They then all ended up at Rivendell just in time for a mandatory team meeting. Eventually it was decided that a fellowship of heroes will then take the ring to Mount Doom. The fellowship includes Gimli the Dwarf, Legolas, and Sean Bean's Boromir, who I'm sure will make it out of this movie just fine. They then set out together, taking a trail that led them over a treacherous mountain. Eventually, though, it became impassable due to some weather wizarding from Saruman. Also, Boromir here started acting really shady. The group was then forced to take a trail that led them through the underground dwarven kingdom of Moria. Things turned out worse when they found everyone dead in the place infested with goblins and cave trolls. Oh, and there was also a giant fire demon called the Balrog. The group escaped with their lives, but Gandalf was lost along the way. Don't worry though, he comes back in the sequel with a freshly bleached dye job. They then ran into a group of wood elves led by the film's narrator Galadriel. She gave Frodo a spoiler alert about what would happen if he failed, and actually it's the Raising of the Shire, which did happen in the books, but come on, do you want that last movie to be like 5 hours? Actually, you know what? Don't answer that. I already know what you're gonna say. She then gave them all cool gifts and sent them on their way. Boromir wound up going all ring crazy and tried to snatch the ring from Frodo, but it was alright because he started a redemption arc that immediately ended with him getting arrowed to death. They then all split up, with Sam and Frodo going to Mordor by themselves, and 3 buff boys going after a pair of kidnapped hobbits. And that's it for the first movie. How much time do I have left in this video? Oh! Time to pick up the pace, which is what Aragorn, Gimli, and Pretty Boy Legolas do. They tracked the hobbits to an orc camp, but were too late, as the riders of Rohan, led by Judge Dredd, had already wiped out the encampment. Also, obligatory mention of Viggo Mortensen actually breaking his toe here, yada yada yada. Merry and Pippin escaped into the forest and ran into a large talking tree with a big beard. In pure Tolkien fashion, his name is Treebeard. Merry and Pippin then spent most of the rest of the movie riding on Treebeard's back and complaining about arbor-based bureaucracy. To the filmmakers' credit though, they took the most boring chapter in the entire series and managed to make it less boring by splitting it up across the entire movie. So you know, much appreciated there, guys. Aragorn and his little lads ran into Billy Butcher, who'd been kicked out of his kingdom by a king being puppeted by an extra greasy Brad Dourif. The voice of Chucky thought that he had everything under control until Gandalf the White blasted in with the KO. Meanwhile, Frodo and Sam captured Gollum, who was creeping on the pair while they slept. They then forced him to be their guide into Mordor, a plan that will have absolutely zero unintended consequences. Also, Gollum seemingly has some untreated DID. Frodo fell into a swamp, and eventually the trio were captured by Boromir's younger brother. Hey Tolkien, what's the name of Boromir's much fairer younger sibling? Oh, it's Faramir? Yeah, that makes sense. Eventually he lets them go because he's a lot cooler than his brother ever was. Back in Rohan, Aragorn and the gang decide to move the citizens to a much safer and more fortified Helm's Deep, because nothing screams safety quite like being trapped in a box canyon. They then proceeded to have the best battle in the entire franchise, even though it did involve Legolas snowboarding on a shield, which is just ridiculous. They ultimately won though, with some help from Gandalf and Doomguy's Rough Riders. Also, Merry and Pippin convinced the Ents to wreck up Saruman's place, which is pretty satisfying to watch. The film closes on Sam, Frodo, and Gollum finally making it to the border of Mordor. Mordor's border. Celebrimbor. Just had to throw that in there, just because. And here we are at the final stretch. I guess it's time for a certain king to return. However, he's gonna have a hard time of it because the Steward of Gondor is a real jerk about abdicating power. Merry, Pippin, Legolas, Aragorn, Gandalf, and Gimli were all reunited just in time to split up again. Gandalf took one hobbit, and the rest get the other. That pair then rode to Gondor, tricked them into calling for aid, and started preparations for another massive battle. Aragorn wound up getting a new sword recycled from Narsil, Isildur's old sword, and a bunch of new ghost friends. Maybe friend is too strong of a word? Ghost co-workers? That seems more fitting. The Battle of Minas Tirith commences after a few smaller encounters, and naturally the Steward takes the first opportunity to burn himself alive. If we were doing a list about top 10 cinematic death scenes, that one would definitely be on there. Frodo and his merry man also run into trouble with a giant spider, and then some hungry orcs. Gollum wound up betraying them like the little punk that he is, and Sam earned the franchise's MVP award for rescuing Frodo and then literally carrying him up a mountain. They arrive just in time to plunge the ring into lava, but oh no, Frodo has gone to the dark side in a completely unexpected heel turn. A fracas with Gollum wound up sending both him and Frodo tumbling over the edge. However, Sam saved Frodo, while Gollum and the ring became really gross soup. During all of this, Aragorn and what was left of the armies of the two human kingdoms were providing a distraction at the gates. There, he delivered one of the franchise's best speeches, which is a feat because this series is absolutely loaded with good speeches. In fact, this one might be one of the best in cinematic history, period. It's just so good. Thankfully, Middle-earth realized that this movie was getting a little long in the tooth, and before Aragorn can get into all the bad guys, they wind up falling into a large hole. Also, Sauron's eye exploded, and Frodo and Sam were scooped up by a group of eagles. They're then flown back to Rivendell, where Frodo recovers. Everyone came in one at a time and dogpiled on top of him for some celebratory bed jumping and hair tussling. Everything worked out just fine for pretty much everyone, except for Boromir. And most of his family. But at least Faramir got to hook up with a pretty badass shield maiden, so there's that. After a recovery period of a few months, they all head to Gondor for Aragorn's coronation. The hobbits then returned home to the Shire, where they lived happily for a few years, until Frodo and Bilbo boarded the boat for the Grey Havens. After a tearful goodbye, Sam returned home to his loving wife. The end. Finally, after like 6 false endings, that movie just wouldn't end. Not that I'm complaining, I could have watched The Lord of the Rings forever, but still, there's a lot of false endings there. All these years later, it still kind of bugs me. So how does this fit with the upcoming Rings of Power? Well, that series is taking place in the Second Age, all the way back in the prologue of the first movie. It will be about Sauron coming to power through the creation of the rings. As I said earlier, Celebrimbor will be featured in the series. He crafted the rings but was betrayed by Sauron after he discovered their true purpose. No idea yet if his extra ring that was established in the Shadow of Mordor games will appear in the show, but it's possible. You can also expect to see some of the more divine and powerful beings sent to Middle-earth by Eru, the creator and supreme deity. While Gandalf and the other wizards featured in the movies fit this bill as well, they were not on Middle-earth during the Second Age. At least Gandalf wasn't. He was sent to Middle-earth in the Third Age, so don't expect him to be around in the series. Besides, Ian McKellen is looking far more like Gandalf the Grey than Gandalf the White these days. The biggest thing to look out for, though, are the initial Maiar or primordial spirits, who were in far greater numbers at the time. Gee, I wonder what is going to happen over the course of that series. I wonder how it's going to end. Like I said at the start of this video, the world of Middle-earth is so expansive and detailed that this video barely scratches the surface. The Rings of Power will give us a lot more context and history when it comes to the Lord of the Rings, but we'll also have to do a lot of interpretation. There's a lot of history and myth in the world of Middle-earth, and this September we'll get even more. Maybe we'll even finally get to see Tom Bombadil and his super hot wife, Middle-earth's ultimate power couple. All in all, I'm personally quite excited to see what the Rings of Power will bring to the table. I read the Silmarillion years ago, so my knowledge of what actually went down in the days before the Lord of the Rings is a little fuzzy. While I expect we'll see some deviation from Tolkien's work, the folks at Amazon have already tell us to expect that to be the case in some minor regards, I also figure it'll fit in nicely with the rest of the stories we've gotten from Middle-earth. And heck, if it does well, maybe we'll see a future adaptation of something like Unfinished Tales, or Beren and Luthien. The Children of Húrin? Heck, maybe we'll even see The Fall of Gondolin, a book that actually wasn't released that long ago. There are so many more stories set within the world of Middle-earth that could serve as a basis for more film and television adaptations. All of which would be fantastic to finally see adapted so that fans everywhere can enjoy them just as much as they did those classic Lord of the Rings films. Would you guys like to see more videos like this? Ones where we kind of do a TLDR breakdown of something before another major release that is related to it? Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to Screen Rant for even more great videos just like this in the future.
Alright, so there goes that one. Alright, I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. Audio's kind of quiet. Might be that way because of copyright.
Help him, Strider! He's been stabbed by a Morrible blade. This is beyond my skill to heal. He needs Elvish medicine.
Number 4.
Then Caden stands alone.
Not alone.
Go hit him!
I am no man.
Number one.
50! 60!
Thank you guys so much for watching. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my YouTube channel. It means a lot. Hitting 4K, now on to 10K. Don't forget, at 10K subscribers, be dyeing this hair any colour that you choose. There's been a couple of suggestions from Chloe, from Jack, Ashley, from John, and from my brother Wesley. So yeah, please leave the comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this video, and thank you so much for watching. Please share with all your friends and into Facebook groups. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, and peace.
Damn.
Do it.